Hello, welcome to Have a Go, and I'm Alan. Today, fixing this pattern. Going to get it to where it uses less metal to cast, and also the final casting needs less work done on it. So, let's see how deep this jolly thing is. It should be 6.35mm deep here. It's about 7 or so. Which means that I'm having to take off nearly 1mm of metal when I cast this. Not ideal. This is the bottom board I use for my casting. It's not perfectly flat, but I'm not worried about that right now. This may take a while. Use this 1/4 inch plate as a gauge. And all that. Save me getting out the calipers. I'm not using the belt sander because I'm pretty sure that'll go zoom and get rid of half the pattern in no time flat. When I mentioned on Discord about bringing this down to a 1/4 inch height here, someone pointed out that I'm going to get shrinkage. Well, the thing is, the wear pad's going to shrink as well, vertically. Not by much. And everything's going to shrink at the relative. Everything's going to shrink a little bit as a, not relative, but completely, but relative to each other, they're still going to be 1/4 inch deep. So I should be right. I'm keeping this closed while I'm sanding because I don't want a lot of sanding sawdust getting into my good calipers. Alright, 6.35 we're after. We are getting really close. Personal growth. I've learnt to use the belt sander for roughing passes, but when I'm getting close I need to go to fine work, which the power tools can't do. I had intended to drill through it in one go, but now that I'm thinking about it, I can't. If I chuck this up properly and not just have it really dangerous, like clamping just on the edge of it, then it's not going to reach through the bit's not long enough. It took more time to set the drill press up than it did to actually use it. Yep. I'm just checking to see if the bore is even through this. Don't know why, but there's a lip there. I must not have punched through with the drill all the way. Oh well, nothing that a bit of filing won't fix. Just remember, I didn't have these 20mm drill bits to go through here. When I first made this pattern, I only had those horrible hole saws that I only meant for sheet metal. This was a bit of an impulse buy, but I found it to be very useful. Right, drilling through like that has made some sharp edges on the inside here and here. So I'm just going to soften them a bit with some sandpaper. Because the Casting sand doesn't like sharp edges like that. These I'm going to paint the half nut with once I'm finished with the boring, and it's just sitting at the end. I'm going to paint 3 of the faces in bright yellow and the other 3 faces in blue, so you guys will be able to tell when the lead screw is turning just by looking at the half nut. Ain't I nice? Alright, let's dust this off a bit. This is my shellacking baseboard, or what I think of as the shellacking baseboard, because I don't care if I get shellac spills on it. My little paint pyramids. I've made up a fresh thing of shellac, and an important tip: never shake a jar of shellac, because if you shake it, then the shellac will get onto the lip here and it will make an absolute sod of a job to get the lid off. It's probably not as important to shellac this part, because that's where it'll be resting on the mandrel when I cast them, but I've got it out anyway to shellac the headstock pattern, so why not? I just need to wait for those to dry and then I can put a bit more shellac on them. I'll move this to where you can see them, I suppose. Not paint pyramids, but they'll do. Just doing that because there's a little bit of shellac on the bottom of this part and I don't want it sticking to the board. There's no shellac on the bottom of this one though. Right, while I'm at it, I'm going to start sorting out the patterns for the tailstock as well. Yeah, while I've got everything, while I'm in pattern mode. So put some fillets on the inside corners of this. Smooth out the terrible, rough 3D printed finish on this. I'm going to be sanding down this wood filler later on. So if I leave these layer lines on this, I'm going to have a heck of a job pulling it out of the sand cleanly. And this part is going to be complex enough that I don't need the added complication. Right. Okay, not quite dry yet. Right, I'll let those finish. I'll let the wood filler finish drying, then I'll go back to sanding them. Right, this is 120 grit sandpaper, or a lot finer than the last stuff I was using. Just slightly knocking off some of the stuff on there. If you're a cheap, frugal like me, then this is really, once you've got the flakes themselves, this shellac stuff works out really nicely, because you're only paying for a bottle of methylated spirits maybe once a year, twice a year at most. Right, I've got it like that to see if that dries a bit smoother. Let's go around, dry off a bit, then I'm going to sand this back to get a really smooth surface with some fine sandpaper, and hopefully that'll be job done. Bit of very light sanding. These are still not dry. Nothing in there. Right, come back to that tomorrow morning, I think. While that's chewing away, I'll explain what I'm up to. Once I get the new headstock casting to the point where I can start boring it, rather than bore it with the end of it like I did with this one, I'm going to drill a cross hole here, install a cutter there, and have it go through with this taken out and another bracket like these ones installed at this end to support it, so the bar will be completely supported on both ends. I've got just enough reach in this bar. If the bar was any shorter, I wouldn't have a hope of doing it. So I just have to make another support bracket now for the third bearing. And don't think I'm not tempted to just do it out of these aluminium ones either, because I am tempted, but I know that the rigidity will be terrible. If you're thinking to yourself, wow, that looks boring, you're not wrong. I'm just tapping these for M6. And these will be what the clamp will clamp onto underneath the ways. Making these is annoying, which is why I didn't make a nice thick set of these for the other ways and just reused the 2mm steel ones for the other ones. Because of how small the pieces are, they don't fit in the bandsaw, so I have to hand hacksaw them. On Zamac I don't bother with this first tap, but with steel I do. Makes it easier for the number 2 tap and the finishing tap. You can feel when the tap finishes, because all of a sudden all the resistance stops and it's just like turning a bolt in a nut, rather than trying to cut something. I don't know either, the magic hole making fairies just came and put these there. Very useful critters. Best part is that they work for free and they eat metal shavings. Sparing mentions in the amateur's lathe is getting a cross slide table for your drill press, just to make it easier to position things, not for milling but for positioning. I'm starting to think he's got a point. At some point I'm going to have to clean Vivid off this set square. Not today though. I was just outside with the angle grinder roughing out those cuts. Had my mask on and my apron. That angle grinder scares me. But it's brilliant at taking off a lot of material in a heck of a hurry.